There was a quiet moment one afternoon when she noticed something different, a faint scent, not strong, but unfamiliar. She paused, and then she wondered, could that be me? It was not a question of vanity. It was something deeper, a gentle discomfort, a curiosity, and soon after, a realization. She was not alone. Many women, especially after the age of 60, experience changes in their bodies that they were never warned about. Changes in how they feel, how they move, and yes, sometimes how they smell. What followed for her was not embarrassment, but a quiet search for answers. And what she discovered could make a world of difference for any woman in her golden years. In this video, we are going to explore 8 common bathroom habits that might be working against the freshness and confidence so many women deserve, especially as they grow older. These are not about judgment. They are about understanding. Each one comes with a simple age-appropriate solution that works with the body, not against it. Because the truth is, getting older does not mean you have to feel less than your best. It does not mean giving up on feeling clean, confident, or comfortable in your own skin. It means making wiser choices. And sometimes just changing the way we do everyday things. So, whether you are 60 or 75, this video is here to remind you, your body is not failing you. It is asking for new kinds of care. And you deserve to feel fresh, proud, and powerful at any age. Let's begin. 1. Overwashing the intimate area. For most of her adult life, she believed something that many women do, that the more soap she used, the cleaner she would feel. She took pride in being thorough. In the shower, she would reach for a strong-scented body wash or a floral bar soap, and she would scrub every inch, especially around her most private areas. She believed this was the right thing to do, the hygienic thing. No one told her otherwise, not her friends, not her doctor, not even her mother. But over time, something began to change. Despite all the scrubbing, she noticed irritation, discomfort, even a lingering odor she could not quite explain. Eventually, during a routine visit, her gynecologist gently explained what had been missing from all those years of cleaning. The vagina is a self-cleaning organ. It is a balanced ecosystem designed by nature to take care of itself. Inside, there is a very specific balance of healthy bacteria and natural acidity that keeps the area fresh and protected. The pH level, which means the level of acidity, usually falls between 3.8 and 4.5. That is quite acidic, and it is that acidity that helps fight off infections and keep odor under control. When heavily fragrant soaps, wipes, or sprays are used inside or too close to that area, they do not just remove dirt. They also remove the helpful bacteria. They disrupt the natural balance. And that is when problems begin. She learned the hard way that too much cleaning was actually the cause of her discomfort. Now, she does things differently. She uses only warm water on the internal area. If she feels the need for soap on the outside, and only on the outside, she chooses one that is fragrance-free and made specifically for sensitive, intimate skin. She never uses wipes, sprays, or douches anymore. It felt strange at first to do less, but within weeks, she noticed a real difference. The irritation disappeared, the odor faded, and for the first time in years, she felt comfortable. Not just clean. She realized her body had not been failing her. She had simply not been taught how to listen to it. That small change, doing less, not more, brought her peace of mind and physical relief. And that was just the beginning. 2. Letting towels hang around too long. For years, she thought she was doing everything right when it came to hygiene. She showered regularly, used fresh soap, and kept her bathroom tidy. But there was one simple habit she never thought twice about: reusing her bath towel. After all, she figured, I'm clean when I step out of the shower, so the towel stays clean too. It felt like common sense. And for decades, that idea stuck with her. But over time, she noticed something she could not explain. Even after a thorough shower, her skin sometimes carried a musty, slightly sour smell. At first, she thought maybe it was her soap, or perhaps her body was just changing with age. It wasn't until a visit from her daughter that something clicked. Her daughter hugged her and gently asked, "Mom, do you always hang your towel in here?" The bathroom was warm, humid, and had no window for ventilation. That simple question opened the door to a conversation she had never had before. The truth is, towels do not stay clean just because we use them on clean skin. Towels soak up water, body oils, and skin cells, even if we can't see it. When they are left to hang in a moist environment like a bathroom, especially one with poor airflow, they become a perfect breeding ground for bacteria and mold. And every time she reused that towel, she was reapplying some of that bacteria right back onto her freshly washed skin. Doctors recommend washing bath towels after every 3 to 4 uses, but in humid environments, or if the bathroom doesn't have good ventilation, even more frequent washing may be needed, sometimes after every 2 uses. Once she understood this, she made one simple change. She created a towel rotation system. She kept 3 towels in steady use, one clean and ready, one currently being used, and one air drying after a wash. This small system helped her stay ahead of the problem without creating extra work. She also made sure to dry her towels properly. Instead of letting them bunch up on a hook or the back of the door, she spread them out fully on a drying rack. On especially humid days, she even cracked the door or ran a fan to help the air circulate. And the difference was remarkable. The faint smell disappeared. Her skin felt fresher. Even the bathroom smelled cleaner. She realized the towel, something she had trusted all her life, had quietly become the problem. But now it was part of the solution. 3. Forgetting the feet. Feet are rarely the center of conversation. They're covered most of the time, hidden in socks or shoes, and they're easy to overlook. For most of her life, she treated them like an afterthought. In the shower, she would let the water run down and assumed that was enough. Sometimes she'd swipe a bit of soap over them with a washcloth, but that was it. Then something began to shift. As she got older, she started noticing a smell. Subtle at first, but hard to ignore. It clung to her shoes. It lingered on her socks. And even on days when she hadn't walked far, it was still there. It was frustrating. She was clean. Her shoes were clean. But something was still off. What she didn't know then is that feet have over 250,000 sweat glands, more than any other part of the body. Even when we are not aware of it, our feet sweat. And with age, the body's ability to naturally shed dead skin slows down. That buildup, mixed with moisture and enclosed in a warm shoe, creates the perfect place for odor-causing bacteria to thrive. She had been doing the bare minimum, assuming clean water would take care of it, but in reality, her feet needed more attention, not harsh scrubbing, just consistent, gentle care. She changed her routine. Now, every time she showers, she takes a full minute just for her feet. She uses a soft washcloth and mild, fragrance-free soap to gently clean the soles, the heels, and, most importantly, the spaces between her toes. That's where moisture often hides and where bacteria can settle in. Once a week, she uses a pumice stone or foot file to remove any dry or dead skin. She learned not to overdo it, just enough to keep buildup away without irritating the skin. After the shower, she takes a clean towel and dries her feet thoroughly, making sure to dab between each toe. Sometimes, especially in summer or when she wears closed-toe shoes all day, she adds a sprinkle of antifungal powder inside her shoes or socks. That small step helps keep things dry and prevents bacteria from taking hold. Taking care of her feet turned out to be more than just a hygiene fix. It became a quiet, daily act of respect. for the part of her body that had carried her through every phase of life. Now, her shoes stay fresher, her feet feel softer. And best of all, that lingering odor is gone. 4. Flushing the toilet with the lid open. At first, it sounded like a joke. Something silly she read online and almost dismissed. Close the lid before you flush, or bacteria will spray everywhere. She laughed. How bad could it really be? But then she read more. And what she discovered changed how she looked at her bathroom forever. Flushing the toilet with the lid open sends a fine spray of water and microscopic particles into the air, a phenomenon scientists call the toilet plume. These invisible droplets can carry bacteria, viruses, and chemical residues, and they don't just disappear. They float, and then they settle. Research shows that particles from the toilet can travel as far as 6 feet in any direction. That means they can land on nearby countertops, makeup brushes, toothbrushes, hand towels, even on your skin if you're standing too close. For years, she had flushed the toilet without thinking. Her toothbrush sat uncovered on the counter. Her skincare creams were lined up next to the sink. Her bath towel was hanging nearby. She realized those items had all been quietly exposed day after day to a mist of germs she never even knew existed. It made sense now why her bathroom sometimes carried a faint, unpleasant smell even after cleaning. It wasn't the air freshener or the trash can. It was the constant spread of bacteria from the toilet itself. And once she saw it, she couldn't unsee it. The solution was so simple, it almost felt too easy. She started closing the lid every single time she flushed. She also made a few extra changes. She moved her toothbrush into a closed cabinet. She wiped down high-touch areas with a gentle disinfectant more often. And she kept her towels further from the toilet when possible. Within days, her bathroom felt different. You see, cleaner, crisper, fresher. And it wasn't just in her head. The faint odors disappeared. Her towels smelled better. Her products lasted longer. What had once seemed like a minor detail, just a lid on a toilet, became one of the most powerful hygiene changes she had made in years. She used to think of her bathroom as clean because it looked clean. Now, it truly was. 5. Sleeping in the same underwear, worn all day. It was a quiet, familiar routine. The end of the day, the house winding down, the lights dimmed. She would slip into her soft pajamas, brush her teeth, and settle into bed, sometimes with a book, sometimes just with her thoughts. But there was one small decision she rarely thought about. She often went to sleep in the same underwear she had worn all day. It wasn't laziness. It wasn't neglect. It was just habit. She figured, I didn't sweat. I wasn't exercising. What's the harm? But over time, she began noticing subtle changes. A lingering odor in the mornings, a slight discomfort, an occasional itch that hadn't been there before. That's when she started asking questions. What she learned surprised her. Even when we don't feel sweaty, our bodies produce moisture from sweat glands, oil glands, and simply from being enclosed in fabric all day. That moisture, along with dead skin cells and natural bacteria, gets absorbed into our underwear. And when we lie down for 7 or 8 hours without changing, we trap all of that against the skin, especially in warm enclosed areas where airflow is limited. For women over 60, the skin becomes more sensitive and the body's ability to regulate moisture shifts with hormonal changes. That makes the risk of irritation, odor, and bacterial imbalance even higher. She began to understand why so many dermatologists and women's health experts recommend changing into a fresh pair of cotton underwear before bed, or even going without altogether depending on comfort. Cotton allows the skin to breathe and helps absorb excess moisture without trapping it. By contrast, synthetic materials like nylon or polyester hold in heat and dampness, which can lead to increased odor and irritation overnight. So she made a small but meaningful change. Every night, she now reaches for a fresh, breathable pair. And on warmer nights, or when she feels comfortable, she skips underwear entirely, giving her skin space to breathe. The difference was subtle but powerful. She woke up feeling lighter, cleaner, less irritated. The odor she had been quietly managing disappeared. This habit, so simple, made her feel like she was taking care of herself in a deeper, more respectful way, like she was honoring the quiet needs of a body that had supported her for decades. Sometimes caring for yourself doesn't come from adding more, it comes from listening closer. 6. Neglecting the bathroom trash can. Her bathroom looked spotless. The counters were wiped, the sink was clean, the shower sparkled. But something wasn't quite right. There was a faint smell. Not overpowering, not obvious, but present. She lit a candle. She used an air freshener. She cleaned more often. Still, the smell returned. And then, finally, she opened the lid of her small bathroom trash can. It had been sitting in the same corner for years, tucked neatly between the toilet and the cabinet. She emptied it when it was full, always with a plastic liner inside. But other than that, she never thought twice about it. What she didn't realize was that even small amounts of discarded items, damp tissues, used cotton pads, hygiene products, leave behind tiny traces of moisture and organic material. In a closed bin, especially one that sits in a warm bathroom, that moisture has nowhere to go. Over time, it creates the perfect environment for bacteria, mildew, and mold to grow. And that's where the faint sour odor had been coming from all along. She realized then that a clean bathroom isn't just about the surfaces we see. It's also about the spaces we ignore. Now, she does things differently. She empties her bathroom trash every 2 to 3 days, even if it's not full. It takes just a minute, but it makes a big difference. Once a week, she gives the bin a quick wipe down with a disinfectant spray or a mixture of white vinegar and warm water. It doesn't take much, just a cloth, a spray, and a few seconds of care. At the bottom of the empty bin, she sprinkles a bit of baking soda or places a cotton ball with a drop of lavender or tea tree oil to help absorb odors naturally. And it worked. The odor disappeared. Her bathroom began to smell crisp and clean, not because of artificial scents, but because the source of the smell was gone. She even noticed that guests started complimenting how fresh her bathroom felt without ever realizing what had changed. It's funny how something as small as a trash can, something we walk by every day, can impact how we feel in our own space, and how easy it is to fix once we know where to look. 7. Wearing the same bathrobe too long without washing. Every morning after her shower, she would reach for her favorite bathrobe. It was soft, thick, comforting, like a familiar hug waiting for her on the hook. She wore it while she made coffee, while she did her skincare, sometimes even while folding laundry. It was her daily companion. But over time, something shifted. She started to notice that even after a shower, her skin didn't smell quite as fresh as she expected. It was subtle, a faint musty scent that clung to her skin and followed her through the morning. She changed her soap. She washed her towels more often, but the smell lingered until one day she realized she had not washed her bathrobe in over a month. The robe felt clean because she only wore it after bathing. But that assumption had been quietly working against her. After a hot shower, the body is damp, and moisture transfers easily into thick fabrics like terry cloth or fleece. If the robe is then hung in a warm, humid bathroom, especially if it's bunched on a hook or left to dry in a tight space, it doesn't fully dry. And that dampness, it becomes a breeding ground for bacteria and mildew. Over time, the robe develops a hidden odor, one you might not notice at first, but that eventually transfers to your skin. Once she realized this, she made a simple change. She began washing her robe once a week, just like her towels. To make it easier, she bought a second robe, so she always had a clean one ready while the other was in the wash. She also started hanging her robe in a well-ventilated spot, either near a window, on a wide rack, or even outside when the weather was nice. The difference was immediate. Her skin felt cleaner, her mornings felt fresher, and her robe smelled like fresh laundry again. Not a forgotten corner of the closet. It was a small act of care, but it made her feel good in a deep, private way. Because the robe that wraps around you after you've just cleaned your body should feel just as clean, just as cared for. Now, each morning begins not with a musty scent, but with a soft reminder that caring for yourself means paying attention to even the quietest details. 8. Skipping the post-shave cleanse. She had always believed that shaving her underarms was the final step to feeling fresh. Less hair, less odor. It made perfect sense. But over time, she noticed something strange. Even after shaving, even after using her favorite deodorant, there was still a lingering smell by the afternoon. At first, she thought maybe her deodorant had stopped working. Maybe it was just part of aging. Maybe nothing could be done. But then, one day, while reading a women's health article, she came across a detail that changed everything. Shaving does not just remove hair, it also exfoliates the skin. That means it scrapes away dead skin cells, old deodorant residue, and surface bacteria. While that might sound like a good thing, it actually creates a temporary layer of debris on the surface of the skin, a mixture of old product, sweat, and skin particles that just sits there. If not washed away immediately after shaving, this layer can become a warm, damp environment where bacteria thrive. And that leads to more odor, not less. She had been skipping a simple but important step, cleansing after shaving. Now, she does things differently. After shaving her underarms, she takes a moment to rinse the area gently with warm water. Not hot, not scrubbed, just a soft rinse using a clean washcloth or her hands. She avoids using heavily scented products, which can irritate freshly shaved skin. She then pats the area dry with a clean towel, never rubbing, never rushing. And before applying deodorant, she gives the skin a few minutes to breathe. Sometimes she uses those few minutes to brush her hair or go through her skincare routine. It's a simple pause, but a meaningful one. Since adopting this habit, her underarms feel cleaner and more comfortable throughout the day. That faint odor that used to creep in by evening, gone. She realized that freshness isn't about piling on more products. It's about finishing the process, not just shaving, but cleaning away what shaving leaves behind. This one small shift brought a noticeable difference. And now it's just part of her rhythm, because caring for herself means noticing the details and choosing habits that truly support her body, not just cover up the symptoms. Clean, confident, and in tune with your body. As she stood in front of the mirror one morning, towel wrapped gently around her shoulders, she took a deep breath. The scent of clean laundry, the softness of freshly washed skin, the calm of a quiet home. It all felt different now. Not because of expensive products, not because of new routines, but because she had finally started paying attention to the small things. The habits she had never questioned, the steps she had always taken for granted. Each one of these changes, from the towel she used to how she cared for her feet to the way she handled her robe, brought her closer to something she hadn't realized she was missing, a deeper connection to her body. So often as women grow older, they are told to accept certain discomforts, to chalk things up to age, to be quiet about things like odor, or irritation, or sensitivity. But what if the answer isn't to ignore it, but to approach it with wisdom? Her body wasn't misbehaving. It was just asking for a new kind of care. And when she began to listen, everything shifted. The discomfort faded. The odor disappeared. But more than that, she felt something deeper, confidence. Not the kind you wear like makeup or jewelry, but the kind that comes from knowing your own needs, from treating your body like a friend. not a problem to fix. These 8 habits, while so simple, so ordinary, had quietly been getting in her way. But once she saw them clearly, she had the power to change them. Now, her mornings feel lighter, her evenings feel cleaner, and her relationship with her body feels kinder, because freshness isn't about perfection, it's about paying attention. And confidence at any age begins with care, the kind that's quiet, thoughtful, and rooted in respect. She is not trying to be younger. She is choosing to feel better in the skin she's in today. And she deserves that. Every woman does.